All right. Thank you everyone for joining this informational session for the Boston Congress of Public Health Editorial Fellowship for the 2026 cohort. So happy to have you here. I'll briefly say I'm one of the co-chief executive officers and chief strategy officer for BCPH, but I'll quickly pass it on to my colleague.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm the co-host, I'm the co-host of the webinar, and I'm also co-CEO of the Boston Congress of Public Health. And I'm also with Dr. Carpenter, co-editor-in-chief of the Boston Congress of Public Health Review. And it is a true pleasure. And I'll pass it back to my colleague.
Yeah, so we do have the director of the BCPHR Editorial Fellowship on board, but as soon as he's able to get online, then he can introduce himself, but we'll keep moving until that happens. So just a little bit of background about BCPH. Our mission is democratizing public health through the lens of social justice, and our vision is really to support emerging and established thought leaders, researchers, and advocates in all different facets of public health, as well as social justice, health equity, and health justice as well. And we have a few different centers within BCPH beyond BCPHR, which is the academic journal. We have the studio, which Dr. LeCompte runs, and then we have the academy, which I've been very deeply a part of in terms of the number of courses that we produce, webinars, and the like. And in terms of the Academy, some of you may have had a chance to come to some of our webinars. We've had conferences and symposia in the past. We've also had other types of competitions. Currently, we do have certificates that are not continuing medical education. So I know the screen does say that. We are pending a number of those things. So we're hoping to get those on board, the continuing medical education starting in 2026. But currently, we are able to provide certificates for many of our educational endeavors from the BCPH Academy. And I'll pass it on to you, Dr. LeCompte, to say more about the studio.
Yes, so we pride ourselves in having sort of an informational hub online that starts with the Boston Congress of Public Health website and is expanded with our Boston Congress of Public Health Review website. We also, on those spaces, we host a number of blogs, vlogs, podcasts, and we also are branching out into doing more YouTube series that we hope one day to be on television. You can find most of those on our YouTube channel. We do have the Boston Congress of Public Health Review that started at Harvard, and that's where I met Dr. Carpenter. And we took the journal, which started in its current iteration in 2013. We took that in to be an independent entity starting in 2021, and we haven't looked back since. In addition, we do a lot of different programming, as you can see if you do go to our YouTube channel. We have done things like the Health Scientist series. We also have our Great Health Debates series, which we transform into online courses. And then we also have Health Minutes, and these are quick explainers that are basically text with visuals and music that talk about current health issues. And we want to transform that eventually into longer form series with more dynamic engagement.
All right. So I'll pause briefly. So, Both, if you're there, feel free to come on. Otherwise, I will continue.
Hi, Candice, you may go ahead.
Okay, great. All right. So more about what the fellowship entails, right? So we have a couple different endeavors that we have here. And one is to be able to have people have that very up close and personal understanding what it means to be an editor for an academic journal. As Dr. LeCompte was saying, right, we've been around for some time, obviously since, I've been with the journal since 2020. Dr. LeCombe since 2013, 2014, but the journal has existed since then. So even though we may not be as old as the New England Journal of Medicine or BJM or other types, we're very similar in the processes that we've had. So hence why we want to be able to offer this editorial fellowship for you. So learning how to become an editor and a reviewer. So we do both of those at the same time and learning that entire process of peer review, right? From the time a manuscript comes in for submission, what are the guidelines that it might need depending on what type of manuscript it is, taking it through that review process, and then ultimately whether or not it is desk rejected, it's accepted with revisions, or otherwise. And as part of the fellowship, you also get to collaborate with other fellows. And I think that's one of the greatest things about it, beyond just the learning aspect, because this could be a passive thing where we just offer an on-demand course, but instead we do this in person because there's a lot of synergy that can happen when you meet other fellows and you're learning about being an editor, being a reviewer, some of the ethics surrounding peer review, some of the interesting contemporary issues surrounding peer review in terms of AI, self-plagiarism, and others. So interesting things there. And ultimately, you will be able to enhance how well you write your own manuscripts in the future. And so we've had many fellows who they're already publishing as well, but they wanted to be able to get that deeper knowledge of what is it that the reviewer is doing to my manuscript. And so once you become that editor and reviewer, then you can enhance the work that you're doing with your own research portfolio. So who can apply? So absolutely, we want people who have that passion for public health, social justice, health equity, and health justice, right? And having a strong background in writing and editorial skills is also paramount for that. We know that there are a lot of different AI tools that you can use and that people may seek to use, but we're looking for fellows who want to roll up their sleeves and do it themselves the old-fashioned way. So ultimately, you are someone who wants to be able to get access to the cutting edge literature, and that you want to be someone who's able to give really detailed, nuanced advice to those people who are submitting their manuscripts. So those are the biggest things that we're looking for. So very self-directed, highly motivated. Ultimately, we do have a short amount of time together, with the director, Sabath, myself, and Dr. LeCompte. But ultimately, there will be many times that you will be doing a lot of this editorial and reviewer work on your own. So if you're the kind of person who easily is downloading a manuscript and dissecting it from top to bottom, you are the person who should apply. If you're the person who's looking more so like, oh, this looks good for the resume, but you have some difficulty with regularly looking at manuscripts, then this might be something that you want to hold off of. And the other thing as well, as a component, is making sure we have someone who has a high level of integrity to the peer review process. Our peer review process is very similar to other types of peer review processes, but we want to make sure that people are able to follow it to the T. And one of the things that we loved with previous fellows as well is making sure that each step of the process is fairly standardized. And some things can be figured out on a case-by-case basis, what aspects you might do with certain manuscripts. But for the most part, we have a standard way so that we can make sure that the authors who are submitting their manuscripts with us know what to expect at each stage for their manuscript, and know that if they're being published with us, that it has gone through very thorough peer review and that they have ways to be able to enhance it and make it even better. So some of the activities involved with the particular fellowship. So first, to apply, you do have the actual application, and so we can show that in a little bit. But that does require that you do there's either two. There's the nature. There's a Elsevier peer review training course to get you up to speed in general on what are some of the best practices nationwide, if not internationally. So that's the first step. Also reviewing the sample manuscript, that's also part of the application as well. And then once you're admitted, we do have an interview process, and Sabath can say more about that because I don't think we have it on the slides in terms of the exact interview dates, but there will be an interview process. Being able to attend all of the group meetings. The biggest thing about this fellowship, as I said, it's not just something that looks very nice and shiny on your resume, but it is something that you're doing to be able to learn from other fellows and learn from other people that we'll have as panelists as part of the curriculum of that. And then ultimately, once you go through this fellowship, you then have the opportunity to join BCPHR as an official reviewer and or editor. So while you're part of the fellowship, you get a chance to be able to participate in a number of our different campaigns. But once you actually you graduate from the fellowship, then you can become a long-term editor and reviewer. And we tend to look at this on a year-by-year basis. So there are some people who have been with us for the past several years, and that continued to be the case. So this is an opportunity to have a long-term exposure with BCPHR as an editor and a reviewer. And I'll hold any questions till the end. I did see something in the chat there. So just expanding upon eligibility, as I mentioned before, right? Strong written and verbal communication skills, ability to join all of the training sessions. We understand life does happen. And so ultimately there might be a grace period for one. However, if you miss more than one within the 6 or 7 sessions that we do have, we probably will not be able to give you the graduation certificate. So it does require people who are able to make those sessions. So absolutely make sure that you can do that when you apply, and know for certain that that's the case. And then a basic understanding of scientific research. So we don't necessarily say that you've been published before, but that you have at least taken coursework on research methods and similar things of that nature, so that you do have an understanding when you're going through these manuscripts of what you should be expecting in any of the given sections, the discussion section, and the research methodology section, the introduction, etc. If that isn't all entirely new to you, you may need to wait before you can apply to our fellowship. And we don't require that people have a master's or doctoral degree, although that does give you a significant leg up when applying to the fellowship. We do have a requirement that you have a minimum of a bachelor's degree in public health, or that you're on course with a master's degree or a doctoral degree in some level of public health. And we are looking for people specifically in public health and social justice. So there may be some people who are adjacent to those, and we will consider those on a case-by-case basis. But for the most part, we're looking for people who are squarely within public health and social justice fields. So program structure. So there are, as I said, about 6 or 7 sessions that will have anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half that will be starting next year in 2026. We expect anywhere from 6 to 8 fellows, and we want to be fairly diverse in terms of geographic locations as well. So unfortunately, we cannot accept all 6 to 8 fellows from Boston. So if you happen to be in a part of the country that is in the Midwest or in the South, you have an advantage because we don't tend to have a lot of people from there. And the biggest thing that we're trying to do as a journal is have as much representation as possible from the country, as well as internationally as well. So I will say that if you're outside of the States, you are welcome to apply. So final applications in the next couple weeks due December 6th. I believe it's 12 a.m. Eastern time. So specifically, nuts and bolts of the fellowship. So the dates that we have so far in terms of the sessions are these dates: the 22nd of February, a few dates in March, and then April 4th. And I believe those are all Saturdays, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead and just double check. Those are actually Sundays, I think. Saturdays or
Yes,
Sundays.
there's Sunday.
So they tend to have, thank you for that, Dr. LeCompte. So we tend to have those from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. And I know many times we get, can you be flexible with this? Given the number of people from BCPHR who want to be at these sessions, we have to be able to restrict it to that time. So 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern on these dates, February, March, and April. If you look at this list and there might be one date you might miss, that's okay. Feel free to apply. If you look at this list and you say, I'm probably going to miss 2 or more dates, you probably don't want to apply to the fellowship. As I said before, we want to be dedicated to people who can make all of these sessions because it's such a small cohort. When one person misses a session, it can have a big impact on the activities that we have planned for each session. And each session will not necessarily just be passive learning about peer review or managing editing or associate editing. It will be very active in terms of doing some of the review, doing some of the editing for the papers. So that's why we need people who are very much dedicated, present, and hands-on. The other thing I'll say as well is that you have to come for the full duration. So if you're thinking, well, I'll just come for 20 or 30 minutes, nope, not something that we want either. So fully present for the full period of time there for the fellowship. So in terms of what does the curriculum look like? And so far, obviously we have some flexibility to change this, but what we have planned so far that's very similar to the last cohort is an overall expectation of what is BCPHR doing? What does the managing editor, associate editor, and reviewer role exactly entail? And what is it like to deconstruct a manuscript? We have a number of different things that we take in terms of op-eds and typical qualitative and quantitative work. So we'll be able to show you what is involved and being able to look at those different aspects from introduction, research methodology, uh, as well as discussion. We'll be able to do a few different manuscript reviews as well, and have some panel discussions on best practices as well as research methodology. And then we'll also have a panel discussion with a number of different guest editors discussing challenges, insights, and trends in the industry, because just like any industry, finance, medicine, et cetera, there are different trends within the peer review and the academic journalism industry as well. So we'll have a number of different things related to that. So Dr. LeCompte, I'll have you take this over. There's just something I need to take care of, but if you wouldn't mind just discussing this slide.
Yes, yes. So I think in terms of the fellowship, a lot of folks are like, you know, they have maybe an overall understanding of what they can get out of engaging with us, but there are some, concrete sort of benefits. And these include, really getting that hands-on experience in academic publishing. That's a very unique skill set in academia that a lot of folks just simply do not have the opportunity or even know how to engage with. So once you come on board, you get to experience every single role within an editorial committee. So that's a very unique opportunity. And we're glad to have you here today so you can learn more about it. You also get to develop sort of critical manuscript review skills. And part of that whole experience of being a scholar, a rigorous researcher, is really knowing how to engage with and create scholarly manuscripts. And so many people just struggle at the start of like how to really create a good one. They may know that basic structure of like background, theory, methods, results, in discussion and conclusion, but they don't really know how they operate together and what really makes them rigorous and add to the field. And that's something you'll really get to know when you do this editorial fellowship, because you'll review the raw pieces that come in from scholars, and you'll have an opportunity to review them and really assess them piece by piece. And you'll do this often, alone, but also in concert with your colleagues. And there's a real cohort effect in terms of working through these manuscripts. You probably have seen on bcphr.org that we do a lot of expedite campaigns where we'll actually take a manuscript through submission, and depending on its quality, can take it through to publication in 2 weeks. And that is done without sacrificing rigor. We just really do an intensive engagement with the manuscript and with the author in order to make that happen. So each and every time that we get a manuscript, we really are concerned about ensuring its quality and its contribution to the field. And editorial fellows are part of that. Right from the start. You're never treated as someone who's just an intern, like touching things a little bit, and then we take over. So, as I said, too, all of this is done in a collaborative, networking fashion with your peers. You also get to meet others that are invited, those who are working with other peer-reviewed journals. I lost my screen just for a moment. And then you also get to experience that sort of enhanced educational growth that comes with working in a peer review setting. And of course, you'll get to put this on your CV. This is a very unique sort of credit to have when you are applying to academic positions. This is something, if you're trying to get tenure, you can add to your tenure track portfolio. If you are interested in going into like academic research jobs, this is something to take with you. And really, that experience too just lends itself to writing better manuscripts. And also, if you want to become a reviewer with other journals moving forward, there you go. You have this experience as well.
Thank you for that, Dr. Lecomte. I'll jump back in. I know I was
Okay.
temporarily kicked off and then I came back on because there's been inclement weather where I'm located. I will add
Of
as well
course.
that we know for a fact that we've had people who have been editors and reviewers for us who have gone on to the New England Journal of Medicine and other types of journals to be editors and reviewers for them or to do other editorial fellowships. So it has absolutely given them a leg up in being able to do that. If you want to be able to sample a number of different journals as well. I wanted to just mention the last point on this is that for the editorial fellowship itself, that if you become a fellow, you are not eligible for other BCPH award programs. So that's the 40 under 40 awards program, as well as the Health Innovators Distinguished and or Outstanding. It's just for this particular type of fellowship, but within a year, then you will be eligible. I will say if you've already been accepted to 40 under 40 or Health Innovators, etc., you can still apply to this. So that's okay if you've already been accepted. And there's no issue with doing the World Delegates Program with BCPH and the editorial fellowship because I can anticipate that answer. So those two you can, but the particular awards programs you cannot. So we want people who are doing this fellowship because they truly love the idea of peer reviewing, editing, and reviewing. And they, outside of anything else, if you'd love to do other things with BCPH, we definitely welcome that. But we want people who are absolutely committed to this particular kind of work. Uh, I'll move forward with that. So, Sabath, did you want to come in with additional details for how to apply?
Yeah, thank you, Candace. If you could move to the next slides. Okay. All right. I'll just go right here because the slides are not moving from my end. So how to apply. So we have the BCPHR website where we all can apply. So it's just basic informations that we would need. Um, and then should I project?
I'm happy to hop in. That's okay. Yeah, so
And
as Sabath was saying, so we do, and if one of you wants to drop the application in the chat, just to make that easy for people. So we do require a brief headshot and bio, and then completing. So we have a Scholastica training that you can watch on YouTube that's we made as BCPHR, and then there are the other things I mentioned before, the Nature review and or the Elsevier review on peer editing. So we want to make sure that everybody has the same foundation, and these are absolutely the standard of peer review. So this will give you a great, even if you don't get into the fellowship, it'll be great training. You can also put those certificates of Nature or Elsevier on your resume as well. We do have a sample manuscript that we want you to actually go through the process because we want to see how you exactly approach that. And as I may not have mentioned, we do want a range of different people who are part of the fellowship. So you may have a little bit of experience actually doing this, and you may have a moderate amount. And ultimately, we're seeking to have fellows like that. If you have very extensive experience, it's very possible that the fellowship may not be for you. It could be. It depends. Like if you're interested in working with a different journal and seeing our different processes. But for the most part, this is meant to accelerate people who have um, little to no to moderate experience when it comes to peer review process, editing, and reviewing. For those who have extensive experience, the things that you will get from this will more likely be just the expanding your network as well as working with a different journal. But in terms of learning more things about peer review, you probably won't. So just keep that in mind if you have extensive experience. The reasons for you applying might be quite different than someone who has little to no experience up to medium experience. And I mentioned before, right? We want to be able for you to tell us what is your estimated availability for the fellowship. We do have a range for that, and we hope for that to stay the same going forward. So there is the application I think that we put in the chat and what it looks like as well. So all of the information that you need is there within the hyperlinks. There it is as the QR code. But let's go ahead and take a Q&A because I think I've chatted long enough. So whomever wants to take control of that, Dr. LeCompte or Sabah, we can jump into Q&A.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. Thanks, Candace. I don't know if we could reshare the slides again because it wasn't moving, so we can have the QR code up there.
Yes, they're showing on my end. I don't think they're showing on your end.
Okay.
So I can't see them either, Candace.
Okay.
So if you want, maybe I'll share. There might be, maybe
Are
it's
you
just,
able to
there you
see?
go. Fabulous.
Yes. Just to jump in as well. I know Candace had mentioned when the interview would take place after the applications are closed on the 6th of December. So the interview is scheduled for the 24th of January. It's a Saturday. So the timeline for decision would be on February 6th. So after the interviews on the 24th of January, we should have a decision made by February 6th, and we'll begin the fellowship February 22nd. So yeah, we've opened the Q&A. I know someone had asked for what is the decision timeline in the chat. I think I've responded to that. So the Q&A, there are no
Also, someone had
questions there
asked
yet.
about what the dates were in
Yeah.
terms of the required for everyone's required to be online and engaged. I'm going to put these in the chat as well. They're in the answered questions and they're also in the slides, but here are those dates as well. We'll be engaging and having sessions again on February 22nd, March 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, and then April 4th. And they all take place 3 to 4 p.m. And we provide everyone with a dedicated Zoom link for that. So we do use Zoom and not Teams.
Right. We can keep the questions coming in. Thanks, Kate, for responding to the other question. Right. I think you probably we've exhausted the questions, but just to reiterate some of the things Dr. Candice had mentioned. So we need individuals who truly want to do this. And it's a great experience, especially for me as the director, where we had, for the last cohort, we had different persons from different backgrounds, different races, and they were able to come together every other week. And then we did it for 3 months, and I could tell you every other week they were enthusiastic to see each other, even asking for more of those sessions where they like meet together, review manuscripts, and make decisions as to which manuscripts get moved on the publication line. So if you're interested, we know some of us are interested, you could just apply right away. Or if you have any other questions, you could reach out to me directly, just to just to fasten up the process, I'm putting my email in the chat box right now. So you could reach out if you want to apply right away, and I would be available to respond on the go. So Candice is just showing our previous cohort. So we had Alex, Joseph, Jennifer, Tom, Danielle, and Nicole. And most of them are still with us, and have gone on to um, other journals as well. And some of them you would be meeting them if you were to come through to the fellowship. So they're already experienced and experts in some of the things we've highlighted in the curriculum. So it would be good to see them by next year when we come along.
Yeah, I saw an additional question. You do not need to be a member to apply, but it is quite beneficial to be a member to take advantage of all the different aspects that we do have with BCPH. And I will say, I'll put in a plug. So we will be having a Black Friday and Cyber Monday membership deals as well. So keep an eye out for that as well. So prices half the price of all of our memberships starting Black Friday and Black Friday only. And then, as I said, following up with some deals on Cyber Monday. And so while they may not necessarily impact this editorial fellowship, they do impact a lot of the other programming that we do have.
Yeah. I think
Thank you,
also
Dr. Candace.
just to
Let's
also
just go
share
ahead.
that what the content of some of the sessions, these will not just simply be sessions where we'll be talking to you or there'll be, just simple slides. There will be opportunities to meet folks from other academic journals and folks who have had extensive editorial experience in their career, sharing tips and tricks of the trade. And then there's also opportunities to work together to edit manuscripts. So this is we pride ourselves on having a very dynamic and engaging networking feel to all of our fellowships, but this one in particular is quite unique in that respect.
And I'll just answer one of the questions that came through the Q&A. We do understand that there may be some individuals that need special payment options. At this time, BCPH does not have anything outside of what we have for jot form. So we apologize, for that inconvenience. We hope that we can rectify that in the future, but we currently only have the one that's embedded on jot form. But I think that might be it. Feel free to email us at communications@bcph.org. We're happy to answer any additional questions. So December 6th, make sure you get those applications in. And as I said before, look at those dates, look at the times. If it's a good match, apply. If you're uncertain, maybe not, but look at some of our other types of programming as well. And it's, as I said, still may be beneficial to do those peer review processes that we do have in the application, even if you don't get the fellowship. I have found them beneficial, and I refresh my knowledge every single year with them. So they are quite good trainings.
Yes, and it's such a pleasure always when we hold these sessions to come on and see folks who have a desire and engagement and to engage and work with us. And we really appreciate you taking time on a Saturday to be here, and we look forward to your application.
Mm-hmm.
And I put into the chat just an informational image about membership. Again, you do not have to be a member to join the editorial fellowship, but there are lots of benefits to joining. And we hope you take advantage of the special that's coming up. It's quite a good one. And then there'll be some Cyber Monday through Friday goodies the next week.
All right. Thank you all.
Everyone.
I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.